Hey guys, November Patreon tutorial here, and this month I focused on a pup portrait because we all love pups, and I know fur is something that a lot of people continue to ask me questions on. So this is just one of the ways that I do it classically. What you just saw was my sketch work after it's been finalized. So I usually start with a general outline and then I especially lay down fur markings and where I will be putting different colors. And as many of you know, I almost 99% of the time start with the eyes, lay down a lot of colors. I particularly have a fondness for purple, so it doesn't typically matter what my subject matter is, you're going to see some kind of purple in there. In this case, it makes a great layering for creating that shadow and that dimensionality for the eye socket. This was a portrait of an older dog, so there's definitely, I think purple brings that age out a little bit better than other colors, than just a brown or just a sienna. These eyes have a base layer of black, and I did that in an ink, and it's in a Prismacolor marker, and that can be worked over with my Prismacolor softcore pencils. And that's what you're seeing here. So for the nose, and for a lot of things as well, you'll see me go straight for that dark color. I preach a lot that you should start light and go dark, but there are a few exceptions, especially if it's an area that is very densely a color, especially a dark color. I will lay down that color and then work around it. And in some cases, you can lay down the base color in an ink, which you have already seen me do in this piece, and you will continue to see me do in this piece. I will lay down a base ink tone because there's no wax in that Prismacolor marker, so I can indefinitely work on top of it with the Prismacolor color pencils. So what you're seeing me do here is lay down my base tones. There's a lot of lavender and a lot of beige in these base tones, and then I'm working on top. Purple and yellow are complementary colors. They are opposite each other on the color wheel, and they do a really great job of adding a lot of dimension when used together, and a lot of depth. And on the smaller scale, you will see me doing a lot of gray tones and browns for this is a Cocker Spaniel that we are drawing here, which of course many are known for their beautiful, beautiful gold fur coats. So what you just saw me do was adding purple once again for depth. These are going to be shadowed areas, and it works really great without using black to shadow everything, because that's not necessarily what you want. And I had an art teacher before that wouldn't let us use the color black, so we had to figure out ways to get that detail without using black, and it was one of my most valued lessons. So what happens here with the tongue happens a little quick. I love doing small little, almost delicate details like this. I lay down a base color that is once again in purple, and there is an awful lot of pink to this tongue. So I was actually working from a very, very, very tiny, very old photograph that I had to blow up in Photoshop. So there are definitely some artistic changes to that and features enhanced. You guys know how much I like bold color. So as much as this was a classical portrait, I still also wanted to incorporate my use of very saturated color. So there's definitely some neons that I used with this one, and then I just calmed it down with a little bit of lavender and then back to those purples. Then I finished it off with some white. what you've been watching me do for the last few minutes has been just following the guidelines of the photo. I am enhancing color tones that I see in the picture. A lot of this just has to do with practice, things that I see, and then colors that I choose to enhance what I'm referencing. And you'll see that here I am using gold. Gold doesn't exactly come across as gold in pencil form, so there's a lot of the tones that are chosen to go around gold are what really brings it out and makes it have that gold appearance. So you'll see that I choose beiges and lavenders and back into some of those more clay-like colors to bring it out. So a lot of what you're going to see now, and a lot of what I've been finishing up before we go into the background, is simply rinse and repeat. It is checking your references, seeing what colors you're working from, and this is going to vary per reference, per piece, what colors you choose. I have a very wide range of colors available to me, and I'm very particular about that. But you do see me use a lot of the same colors, and then depending on the piece, I pull in some of these extra colors. So depending on what you're working on is going to change both your base colors, the colors we started with, and the colors that you use to accent. With fur, sometimes with certain areas, especially darker areas that have more definitive shapes, using a bold color and coming in and working that bold color first and then working around that can be helpful, whereas like with this Cocker Spaniel, working the lighter areas, it's easier to lay in more blended colors and then come on top with a finer pencil to add those more definitive details, because there's not as many of them grouped together. So for these lighter areas, especially on the chin, as we all know, our favorite doggos get a little white furred around the face. In order to darken those and shadow those, I'm not using a gray, I'm actually using a periwinkle blue that helps keep in line with all those colors I like to use. Also helps to blend in those purples and tie in purples from the other parts of the piece, as well as the blue in the background, and at the same time give that white fur dimension. So here we are with the background, and you're seeing me really lay down these Prismacolors. What's great about these is that they actually will lift up ink and continue to blend with themselves, which is kind of cool. And then of course naturally they can be worked over with colored pencil, which is one of my favorite aspects about them, because you can get that really bold color, like the stuff that you see in like oil paintings. You can get it with your pencils. I think that's one of my favorite things about using that technique, is getting that bold color without laying down too much of your colored pencil. And also it makes for a really great option when you add the white fur or like lighter details around the edging of the piece. I think it sticks out a lot more. And you can see that I laid a lot of that color down at first because I want it to show up underneath the fur, and I'll lay it down, I'll cross that ink over into my line drawing so that it blends well together once all of the color pencil is down for my actual subject. So what you're seeing here is, because this is a classical piece, I like to suggest when things fade into the background because I want the focus to be on little Bridget's face. So while she does have a body back there, and I do want to show that dimension of her having a body and not just a portrait in space, I also want to keep that focus on those eyes, on that face. That's why you see a lot of detail in the tongue, the nose, and the eyes, because those are the parts that draw you in, and then the rest of this I want to be in like that you see afterwards. So you'll see that I actually blended her fur color, that helped choose my background choice for colors, and then I work the suggestion of the highlights of the fur and the lowlights, but I don't work a whole lot of mid-grade color in. So a lot of what you're seeing here at the end of this video is, once I get the colors and the shapes and everything in that I really, really like, and I know that that's how I want it to be, I come back in with those colors that I chose at the beginning, those lavenders, those beiges, and I rework them as a top layer, which smooths everything together. So where I really want this color to be bold, and not only is that base color there to support it now as a top color, because you can now see that lavender coming out. You can now see that it's making a difference. And it's because I started with it and now I'm ending with it. So it all comes full circle. And you can definitely see where it has created its dimension, it's created its depth, it's made its point. And you'll see that I'll do that over the course of the whole piece. After I've completed the finishing touches with the background and done the last little bit of blending that I like and overlaying, this is the final product. So thanks for watching, and thanks for being Patreon subscribers, and stay tuned for next month's video. If you have a suggestion, something you'd like to see, let me know. Thanks.